Ah, all right, namaskar. So, Madhuvidyā, can you remind me, do you have the notes who is in charge of what part? And Atmaram is not here, so his part, who is doing his? Can you remind us?
So we should start with intuitional practice, and I think Atmaram and you prepared this. Then society, you and me prepared this, and the body I prepared. Oh, he's here actually.
He, Atmaram?
Yes.
Okay. So
which part did I need to cover? I thought I was the first 10.
Japesh, yes.
okay,
Do you
let's go
remember
again.
which
Let's go
one?
again.
I thought I was just the first 10 points.
Okay.
Of intuitional
So-
practice? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, bless you.
Or I thought so.
Okay, and the second
Hopefully
part, Atmaram, I think. Intuitional practice. From 10 to 21.
Namaskar.
Thank you,
I was
Stanislav.
preparing
Namaskar.
the society part 11 to 21 and the miscellaneous part.
Good. So we start with Japesh.
Okay. I didn't really prepare a presentation because everything seemed very clear from the text. So let me just share the screen and I'll cover. Please stop me if anyone has any questions. Okay. So sadhana, intuitional practice. So these are mandatory observances, duties of Ananda Margis. A. The one formless, beginningless, and infinite Parama Brahma, supreme consciousness, is the only entity to be attained by living beings. That alone is Jagat Guru, the supreme preceptor. That alone has revealed Brahmavidyā, intuitional science, to us through the medium of the name and form of Anandamurti. Unit beings must be made to appreciate its majesty. B. Whether one is healthy or sick, whether in a sitting or lying posture, or in a vehicle, full Ishvara Pranidhana meditation will have to be performed twice a day. Whether there be any urgent work in the immediate future or not, and whether the mind be unsteady or not, all sadhakas should do japa. Repeat Ishta mantra, the mantra which leads to the ultimate goal, 80 times at first, and then continue japa for as long as they like, according to instructions, without counting. Do not have breakfast until you have finished your Shvara Pranidhana in the morning. Likewise, do not take your evening meal until you have completed your evening Ishvara Pranidhana. The requirements and prohibitions of Yama and Niyama have to be observed under all circumstances. Yama has 5 parts: Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. Ahimsa, not to inflict pain or hurt on anybody by thought, word, or action, is ahimsa. Satya, the benevolent use of mind and words is satya. Asteya, to renounce the desire to acquire or retain the wealth of others is asteya. Asteya means non-stealing. Brahmacharya, to keep the mind always absorbed in Brahma is brahmacharya. Aparigraha, to renounce everything, accepting the necessities for the maintenance of the body, is known as a parigraha. Niyama has 5 parts: Shocha, Santosha, Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishvara, Pranidhana. Shocha is of 2 kinds: purity of the body and of the mind. The methods for mental purity are kindliness towards all creatures, charity, working for the welfare of others, and being dutiful. Santosha, contentment with things received unasked for, is santosha. It is essential to try to be cheerful always. Tapa. To undergo physical hardship to attain the objective is known as tapa. Upavasa, fasting, serving the guru, preceptor, serving father and mother, and the four types of yajna, namely Pitar yajna, yajna, Bhuta yajna, and Adhyatma yajna, service to ancestors, to humanity, to lower beings, and to consciousness are the other limbs of tapa. For students, study is the main tapa. Swadhyaya, the study with proper understanding of scriptures and philosophical books, is Swadhyaya. The philosophical books and scriptures of Ananda Marga are Ananda Sutram and Subhasita Sangraha, all parts, respectively. Swadhyaya is also done by attending Dharma Chakra, group meditation regularly, and having a satsanga, spiritual company. But this kind of Swadhyaya is intended only for those who are not capable of studying in the above manner. Ishvara Pranidhana, this is to have firm faith in Ishvara, the cosmic controller, in pleasure and pain, prosperity and adversity, and to think of oneself as the instrument and not the wielder of the instrument in all the affairs of life. No creature should be allowed to starve to death. Even a Jata Shatru, a born enemy, should not be starved to death, nor left mutilated. The weekly Dharma Chakra must be attended when you are in good health. If because of state service or service to the sick, one is not able to attend Dharma Chakra at the scheduled time, then one should go to the Jagirti at some time that day and perform Ishvara Pranidhana. And if even that is not possible, one must miss the meal on the weekend. So that's all part of point number one. Number two, when you fast for mental purification, you should give your food to a needy passerby and use the drinking water to water the plants. 3, bear in mind that you have a duty towards, indeed, you have a debt to every creature of this universe. But towards you, no one has any duty. From others, nothing is due. 4, an animal life is given to carnal pleasure. Human life is for sadhana, but for sadhana, the body is necessary. So in order to maintain the body, you will have to be vigilant about everything in the world. 5, everything requires a base. If life does not have a strong base, it is disrupted by an ordinary storm. Brahma is the strongest base. 6, Dharma, spirituality, is an internal thing. One who is hollow within conceals it in ringing brass bells, beating drums, and making noises all around. 7, one will not be able to know anything unless one develops the psychology of I know not. It is the fundamental spirit of a true aspirant. Number 8, human life is short. It is wise to get all the instructions regarding sadhana as soon as possible. 9, when the flow of the mind is not impeded by selfishness, narrowness, and superstitions, that alone is mukti, liberation. And 10, whatever you speak or do, forget him never, keeping his name in your hearts. Work, remembering it is for him, and endlessly active, drift in bliss.
Any questions about these things, reflection, or Japesh, do you have any comment about what you read? Any questions, concerns? How will you facilitate your?
What stood out was foundationally the yamas and niyamas that we covered previously. I know a lot of people who have sort of started their journey into yoga might not even have any idea about the yamas and the niyamas and all these other important aspects of the practice. And they all support the strengthening of the concentration, the meditation that strengthens our our devotion. So yeah, still always very inspired going through material like this, because it um, allows me, or even provides me, instruction on how to improve the other aspects of my life that support the meditation and spiritual practice. Because when I got into yoga, it was strictly a physical endeavor, wanting to um, get into lotus posture to be able to meditate, because lotus posture is the strongest or most important posture that allows um, the body to be in a state to achieve the highest levels of concentration. So yeah, does anyone have any questions on what was read so far? Maxim?
Yeah, I have several questions, but I will only ask them if there's no one else willing to speak, because I think that I'm gonna go talk about things that maybe some of you have already discussed or know about. So I'm just not gonna bother too much with the knowledge of a person that basically knows nothing about this subject.
I want to give an overview if you have any questions. Before you go to speak, Max, I want to say something about this because we didn't contextualize what this thing is. We don't know what Charya is so far, and why we study right now Charya 2 and not 1. So Charya, as far as I know, and I'm not a Bengali or Sanskrit expert, means the code of conduct. And if we just go again to the history of Ananda Marga, the organization was formed in 1955, and if you look on Wikipedia, you find that this book or the series of these courses were given in 1956. In other words, right after the organization was formed officially. And the founder, Shri Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar, or Shrishan the Murti, basically constructed the three important writings. So, you know, the Sanskrit word shastras means the spiritual teaching, which is given, you know, that contains philosophy. Yeah, so the shastras are, you know, in other words, the three shastra means three shastras consist of the three things, three aspects. The first one is Dharma Shastra, spiritual treatise. The second one is philosophical treatise or Darshan Shastra. Darshan is another word for philosophy. And Samaja Shastra is the social treatise. So there are three parts of Charya, which means code, and they constitute Samaja Shastra. So part 1 sets forth basically social functions, social ceremonies, naming other things, because Ananda Marga is basically a lifestyle. It's a social movement. It's many things, and that's why the first one it's basically a way to view society, and not just to view society, but to an alternative platform for creating one. Not the one, but just an alternative, right? That's the way I see it. And to put it plainly, all the three books are actually meant mostly for those people who want to willingly and conscientiously understand and follow this kind of system, or at least understand it, right? Obviously, nobody is kind of deterred from studying it. Everybody is welcome. But just to give you the context, only people who are willingly and are interested proactively in this kind of philosophy and lifestyle, and mostly those who are kind of know this culture, not completely new, would be willingly and conscientiously meditating on those principles, contemplating and, you know, applying them in real life. Just to give you this kind of context. So the second one, the part that we're studying right now, it deals with human society, conduct rules, and human body. So basically more applicable to spiritual aspirants, those who are interested in the applied side of the yoga and tantra. And the third one deals with do's and don'ts regarding physical health, and also it contains all sorts of regulations for asana performance, pranayama performance, and other things like this. So this is just something that I wanted to mention with you. Now, yeah, Max, go ahead.
Could you link that article in chat, please? It's a Wikipedia article, right? Thank you. All right, so I'll study this later. But thank you very much for explaining things. It actually makes a handful of things a little bit more clear. But, okay. So I have 3 sets of questions, and one towards Japesh in particular, but that one will come later. So the first one is, what struck me as odd is the way it was translated. My assumption was it all written in Sanskrit originally, right?
No, it's not Sanskrit. The original was written in, definitely not Sanskrit. One of the, I think Bengali most likely.
Bengali. So it was in Indian, basically, an Indian local language.
I'm not sure, I'm not certain if it was given in English or Bengali. That's a good question. Possibly.
Because the wording really matters here. That's why I'm being picky. For context sake for everyone here, I'm a programmer and I have a background in science. So I am one of those people that will find words and like pick them apart. So sorry if that behavior is irritating a little bit, but that's how I roll. So the thing is, I'll ask the first question. So in the text, there was a passage where there was strongly, I wouldn't say even implied, it was directed that you must be cheerful at all times. That sounds to me like a very strange direction. Why would you specifically want your practitioners, especially spiritual aspirants, to be in a state of semi-ecstasy, to be jubilant at all times? That sounds borderline inhuman.
Well, I mean, I don't know if cheerful could be, I mean, is, borderline ecstasy, but I think a question to reflect upon is what caused us to enter negative states to begin with, and what do those negative states actually mean for the experience that we're having. If you look at a child, pure joy, pure light, pure, you know what I mean? They resonate something so, I think, an aspect so um, undefinable, something that adults lose as we grow. But there's something real there, that we lose. So it almost seems like when we sort of remove all of the sort of things that we've uh, acquired and kept with us through our lives, through uh, negative experiences, pains we've experienced, then I think joy and happiness shine through naturally. So being cheerful seems almost the the natural state, or the real state, or the potential of what we could experience. And um, it's almost like we see the world through the filter of our past experiences, negative experiences. So that's why we're not as cheerful. Um, yeah, I mean, if anyone has another perspective on that, but yeah, that's how I'm seeing it.
I'm pretty sure the translation could be the case. So I mean, so I guess I guess it depends if the English is your first language, you'll be able to tell those things. But I understand that could be the translation. So it depends on the reader, right? On the context. And mind yourself, this discourse was given in 1956.
So
By
it was recent.
I mean, for a researcher, it's not a recent. Recent is like 5 years ago. That's recent. But yeah, for like a literary critic or somebody like that, like say in literature or humanities, they would say, yeah, it's recent. It's modernism, right? 20th century or already postmodernism. Anyways, we have to cover material here. Max, your questions are ask your questions because yeah. What
Okay,
other?
okay, I understand. In that case, I'll try to just keep it at this one topic. I'll leave the rest for later, since we can discuss this all night and never go to sleep.
Yeah,
So,
let's leave the questions for the after we cover all the material, so then we can discuss a little.
Oh, you are
yeah,
welcome.
sure.
You're welcome to put them on chat actually, so the others can think while you're doing this. Put them on chat. It's
Okay,
good.
sure. And for context, I'm just going to make it brief. The reason why I asked this question is that, in my opinion, human experience is a spectrum, including the neutral spectrum, where you're not neither there nor there. And I feel like negative emotions are just as part of life as the positive ones, which is why I'm asking this question in detail.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I think it's congruent with the modern psychology, which is more, as I said, it's the mix of categorical again and dimensional, as I mentioned before. It's the prototypical, so it means it's a mix of both. Okay, so who's next? Who's covering the next? Atmaram?
Atmaram is next, yes.
I prepared the part about the society, but oh wait. So I should start at the 11th point, right? Okay, let me just share my screen. I think I prepared the wrong part, but can you see my screen?
Yes.
So we stopped here, right? So I need to cover 11 and further. Okay.
You're right.
Okay. Through all works, big and small, humanity has to be awakened. Humanity in its fullest sense is divinity, and its perfection is Brahmatva, Brahmahood. The aspirant must not forget this even for a moment. When one notices a defect in oneself and does not find the means for shasti, corrective punishment, one should purify the mind by fasting. Before censuring anyone for some fault, make sure that you do not have the same defect. When one is established in Yama and Niyama, Ashtapasha, the 8 fetters, fall from the mind. One who is not fettered can never have superstitions. Actions and not logic establish one's superiority. Do not try to assume superiority by belittling others, because the other person's inferiority will become lodged in your mind. Overcome censure by praise, darkness by light. Not to call a thing what it is, but to call it something else is known as slander. Therefore, those who in the name of the beginningless, endless, formless Brahma worship idols are indulging in deliberate slander. You must not give indulgence to this type of Mahapapa, great sin. By pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, and dhyana, lessons of sadhana, vital energy control, withdrawal, concentration, and meditation, the enemies of mind are controlled. You will have to bring the fetters and the enemies under your control. You should not be controlled by them. But in the very nature of living things, human beings will always have these fetters and enemies of the mind. The major part of the slander in the world is based on falsehood. Some indulge in it unknowingly, some because their petty interests are hurt, and others under the compulsion of himsa-vritti, the mental propensity of harmfulness. With the cool mind, you should explain this to the slanderer, but before doing so, make sure there is not even a fathom's worth of truth in his statement. If there is even a little fault in you, you should keep your mouth closed and accept it all, and you should thank the person for pointing out your fault and ask for punishment. You should always bear in mind that you should not try to convince by argument anyone who criticizes your ishta, goal, adarsha, ideology, supreme command, or conduct rules. If this occurs, you should adopt a hard and uncompromising attitude. Should I continue with the other chapter? Or should we discuss?
I think we should discuss this. There's a lot of things going on here. What's your impression of this Atmaram? How do you feel about these mighty principles?
I see a lot of things stemming from the Jama and Niyama principles that we have been discussing in the last few months. I even think that just reading these principles right now without having that context can be quite puzzling, because it's so some of these are just a very thick summary of principles of Jama and Niyama.
I want to ask you a specific question because, yeah, so Max wrote questions on chat. Great. Madhuvidyā, can you save them maybe to our chat even so we don't, so we can continue contemplating on them later and possibly ask Acharyas or other Margis as well, besides providing our answers. But just one thing here. I really like the 20th principle is very important, I think, and in the Shilas it is also included that whatever, even you realize that unconsciously and unknowingly you've done something wrong, you should admit it immediately and ask for punishment. Aren't you guys find that all of those principles are very, very, in terms of especially for the Westerners' mind and thinking, don't you experience it as something very, very strong and compromising, maybe even rigid and inflexible? I mean, in terms of these rules, or are you able to? Or that's a provocative, suggestive question, but rather let me put a more general one. What kind of merits or advantages of those principles do you see?
They sound a bit rigid, but again, I think that it should be taken with a grain of salt, and the context is very important. For instance, the 15th principle. Actions and not logic establish one's superiority. So I think it comes from my understanding, it comes from the idea that at some point of time in India, there was a certain caste that was dominating the society, the caste of intellectuals. And if you just discussing something without doing instead and acting, then it would not bring anything good to the society, or it will not bring as much good as it could. And I think that stems from that. At least that's my understanding. So, as I said, every principle to me is just like a very thick summary of just pages of text, particularly from Jama and Yama. I find the 13th principle really beneficial. I've been trying to apply it in my life very actively, and it's quite challenging because I found myself like doing exactly that all the time. So when I had some defect, I would try to convince someone else that they had similar defect, and I realized that that's not the best way to to change the world around you. So instead one should change themselves first and then proceed with the world and with the people outside. So yeah, I think some of those are very kind of cryptic, and some seem very rigid. But again, I think it's just Charya seems like the top of the iceberg. When the vast majority of this stays beyond the waterline.
Sorry, can I interject for a second? Could anyone here even imagine how politics would look like if the 13th clause was applied? Could you even imagine a scenario where people of very high caliber that are supposed to be masters of state talking to each other with this clause in mind? To me, that's just unimaginable. I cannot think of how humans can interact with each other with this kind of rule in mind if they have any level of authority or power underneath or over them. If you're a spiritual guy, sure. But if you have something to lose and something to protect, this does not make sense to me.
Which one? The 13th?
Among them, the one that really stands out to me is the 13th. This one in particular makes no sense to me in the context. If you have power, wealth, or you have something to protect, or you represent something larger than yourself, this is impossible to do. At least I don't see a way of doing it.
Well, if you imagine the scenario that you don't have this fault, or at least I don't think it's impossible to have no faults, but rather I think this, I mean, you have to use your rationality here. This is the approach. Don't just kind of you try to follow the spirit, not the letters. I think what I am seeing subjectively is that you try to follow the moral principles as good as possible, and if you are not able to follow something, I mean to say, if somebody is like doing something wrong and you, for example, also maybe okay, give a simple example. Like I really appreciate punctuality, but I often come late. So instead of saying, okay, just censuring someone, which I often did, not sometimes, I started to say, okay, I'm late and you're late, but that's the bad thing we're doing. Let's get back on track. Let's try better. Let's cut this time. So you have to find a way not to kind of be bewildered by this form, which I explained to you already, because it could be a translation, could be something else, but try to apply it in your life with rationality and see the spirit of this.
Spirit of cooperation and mutual benefit to solve a common problem.
Well, 13th is very simple. If you see somebody doing something which is clearly negative and you are not doing this, you can correct them. For example, somebody is like abusing alcohol, or somebody is like rude to their parents. And if you are conscientious about the importance of being respectful of your parents and mindful use of alcohol, then you can point out the thing to the person. But if you are an alcoholic and you're trying to correct another alcoholic, you will fail miserably. Just like a psychotherapist who is not like, who has a ruined marriage trying to solve other person's marriage. That would be hypocritical.
Okay. And that's, if that's the spirit of it, I guess, then politics will remain hypocrisy forever.
Yeah, I guess that's the point actually. So this is where the socio-economical theory stems from, right? From this principle that is applicable to politics and socio-economic as well, right? But that's kind of completely different discussion. Because Sri Shanandaporti had a lot of books, particularly on politics as well. And this principle is like directly applied to that field as well. So it cannot be applied, I agree, currently. But if it cannot be applied currently, it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be applied. That's my understanding.
Yeah, I agree. It should be, but I don't see a world where it can't be, because it's the same problem with like nuclear Armageddon. It's whoever pushes the button first is at a massive disadvantage. So if you become honest in a world that's dishonest, you will be eaten alive. And you cannot allow that, not just for yourself, but also for the things you're supposed to be protecting, which is a very strange kind of impasse. But it is definitely an interesting discussion. But I won't press on it further. I think we should move on if possible.
We would be happy to discuss in details, but we are pressured with time. So outside of this is discussion should continue. Yep. Okay. So Atmaram, maybe you can continue because we have 20 more minutes left.
Sure. The body. Keep the body neat and clean, like a temple. After urination, cleanse with water or by some other means. Twice daily before your regular meditation and before any other time of meditation, bath or vyapaka shaocha, or cleanliness half bath, must be done. Before taking food and before going to sleep, do vyapaka shaocha with cold water or in cold weather with lukewarm water. Method of doing Vyapaka Shaocha. At first, wash your genital organs, then hands up to elbows and legs up to knees. Then, taking a mouthful of water, splash water on the eyes and face at least 12 times. Finally, wash the ears and the neck. Do Nasapana, flushing the nostrils with water also, only if your stomach is empty. It is imperative to fast without water on Ekadashi, 11th day after full moon and new moon. In addition, if desired, a fast can be observed on 2 more days of the month, namely Purnima full moon and Amavasya new moon. For a sannyasi, a renunciant, it is imperative to fast invariably on both Ekadashis, Purnima and Amavasya. Should we discuss? I think on the meditation steps channel, for each of these, there's a video describing in details on why and how it should be done. And I personally see these principles, again, just a very thick summary of some quite wide concepts. Should I continue with to the next chapter, society?
Yes. But before that, I would like just to add about the body, that these principles just help to do a good meditation, because, for example, using cold water helps to cool down your body, and your nervous systems calms down, and it just helps to meditate properly. Yeah, you can continue.
Before taking food, ascertain if anybody present there has not eaten. If anyone has not eaten, do not take food unless the person willing gives permission. Whatever food you have, distribute it equally among all the margis present, and then eat. But if somebody expresses unwillingness to eat, that is a different matter. You need not then feel restrained. Love all, trust in all, but do not give responsibility to those not established in yama and niyama. That's directly related to that 13th point that we discussed, I guess. Science is not the enemy of humanity. Avidya, ignorance, is the enemy of humanity. Keep strict vigilance that the knowledge of science is confined only to those persons who are established in yama and niyama. Hypocrites are those who give indulgence to falsehood, those who are ungrateful to their benefactors, those who do not keep their word, those who betray, those who slander behind one's back. You may come to a temporary truce with a hypocrite, but do not forgive till his/her nature is reformed. Immediate forgiveness is a special weakness of mind. It results in worse harm to society. Those who cherish class distinctions, communalism, provincialism, and casteism, while indulging in propaganda about universalism, are also hypocrites. Help the weak and the helpless in all possible ways. We should always strive to maintain the honor of women without considering whether a woman belongs to a particular caste or religion. Never attack the religious beliefs of anyone. Make the person understand gradually with logic. If you attack a person's religious beliefs, it means you have attacked Ananda Marga. Distinctions based on profession, wealth, and birth are man-made. You must not give indulgence to these things in any way. Only vested interests are behind class distinctions. Any comments? Questions?
I just love, absolutely love, don't attack religious beliefs of others. I would say not only that, but also, but I mean especially because, you know, when we're dealing with people for whom faith is important, obviously most of us come here from the post-Soviet space, but religion means something to people, even worldview. But and ideology means important things to people, and when you in conversation attack those things or shatter it to such a degree that the people feels hurt, the repercussions will may be very drastic. So we have to be gentle and critical, and at the same time we have to be conscientious about it, because these are very delicate things. Take some I don't know, devout Christians or devout Muslims or devout anybody. It's a very tricky thing to navigate those kind of conflicts. So we should be careful and empathetic.
That's a good point. I think that from all the chauvinisms. The religionism is the most common one, and it is not considered to be something to blame in our society for some reason. You can find a lot of examples on YouTube. It's not banned. And even though videos with obvious racism would be banned, probably, videos with all kind of isms would be banned, but religionism is not banned at all. I don't know why, but again, yeah, that's really important point. Should we continue?
Yes,
So
I can
sure.
read it if you are tired of reading.
Okay, go ahead. Do you want me to share my screen?
I already see it. It's here, so. To ensure that, no, sorry, I meant that,
You wanted me to share?
yeah.
Okay, I will keep sharing.
To ensure the subsistence of acharyas, spiritual teachers, all kinds of sacrifice should be accepted. One who does not come forward to help when seeing a person in distress is unworthy to be called a human being. He or she is a slur on Anandamarga. The unity of Anandamargis should not be allowed to be jeopardized for any reason. Unity should be maintained even at the risk of your life. If an Anandamargi engages in harming another Anandamargi, he or she remains under the condemnation of Anandamurtiji till her conduct is reformed. Agriculture, arts, commerce, and other developmental work should, as far as possible, be carried out on a cooperative basis. Fine arts lead human beings to the transsensory realm. Hence, sadhakas should not discourage fine arts. Rather, they should support them directly or indirectly. Artists are great benefactors of society, hence take active steps for their protection. For example, before enacting a drama or its translation, enough money for a day's maintenance must be given to the author. If a dharma or other art performance is staged and a charge is made for tickets, after deducting the incidental expenditure, the remaining money should be distributed among the artists, half on the basis of labor and half on the basis of merit. The faults of others should be excused as far as possible. If you find that the conduct of an individual is antisocial, you should try to reform his or her nature by resorting to whatever severe measures may be necessary. Remember, he or she is not your enemy, but her conduct is the enemy of your society. 4 kinds of debt are irredeemable: debt to father, debt to mother, debt to acharya, and debt to guru, divine debt. A. The only way to do service to one's father after his death is to help every male member of the universe to progress on the path of highest development. B. The only way to do service to one's mother after her death is to help every female member of the universe to progress on the path of highest development. C. The best service to the acharya is to work for the comfort and benefit of one's acharya and her family. D. The best service to Marga Guru is to work according to his wishes. But however much service one renders, one will not redeem the 4 debts until moksha, salvation, is attained. 21st. Seva. Service is of 4 kinds. Shudra Chitta, Vaishya Chitta, Kshatriya Chitta, and Vipra Chitta. This is known as Nriyajina. Serving the sick, performing the funeral rites of a dead body, helping the suffering and doing all possible developmental work through physical labor is known as Shudra Chitta Seva. Economic service to living beings and the giving of food and water is Vaishya Chitta Seva. To rescue a person in distress or to compel a person moving on the wrong path to come to the right path by one's strength, physical capability, and courage is Kshatriya Chitta Seva. To help human society in its mental and spiritual development by application of Paragyana, intuitional knowledge, is Vipra Chitta Seva. Remember that the value of each service is the same. Whatever kind of service is most necessary at a given time should be rendered. The scriptures express that Vipras are like the head of Virat Purusha, Supreme Consciousness. Kshatriyas are like the arms. Vaishyas are like the trunk, and Shudras are like the two legs. Think, if therefore, are not all four purposive? The head controls the legs, and the legs support the head. The result of Viprachita Seva is lasting, and that of the rest is short-lived. But even so, under special conditions, Kshatriya Chitta, Vaishya Chitta, or Shudra Chitta service may be the only recourse. Their Viprachita Seva may perhaps be completely meaningless. As the base of the Jiva being is Brahma, so the base of society is the Shudra. Hence, for one who cannot be a good Shudra, to try to become Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Vipra is meaningless. An Anandamargi will have to be Vipra, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra all at once. 22. Businessman. A. Do not create pressure of circumstances to force anyone to buy your goods. B. Do not sell adulterated goods. C. Even if you feel it difficult to run your business as a result of not selling adulterated goods, completely stop purchase and sale of such goods, and do not forgive adulterators till they are reformed. D. Remember, for you the greatest opportunity lies in Vaishya Chitta Seva. E. Specially ensure that the stores of the disaster relief section of the Marga remain full. 23. Employees of different institutions. A. Consider yourselves as servants of the common people. B. Do not on any account accept or offer a bribe. D. C. If someone, through pressure of circumstances, compels you to offer or accept a bribe, do not forgive that person till he/she is reformed. D. If in consideration of the power of your post, anyone offers you a present, that should count as a bribe. 24. Householders. If someone offers you something out of regard for you, and not in consideration of the power of your post, you should accept and use it cheerfully, however inexpensive it might be. B. You should cooperate fully with all welfare activities, governmental or non-governmental. C. Do not offer a bribe to anyone. If someone through pressure of circumstances forces you to offer a bribe, do not forgive that person till he/she is reformed. D. Unless the doctor objects, his fair dues must be paid. 25. Doctors. A. The convenience of the patient must be given more consideration than your own. B. If the patient dies, do not take any fee for that visit. C. If all the children of the dead person are minors, then unpaid fees should be forsaken. D. Do not use adulterated medicine. Even if you feel it difficult to carry on your practice without using such medicine, purchase and sale of that medicine should be stopped. And as long as the nature of the adulterators of that medicine is not reformed, do not forgive them. 26. Political workers. A. do not be misled by anybody's tall talk. B. Do not have any dealings with a party whose policies are opposed to those of the Marga. C. Continue efforts to change the activities of a party whose policies are in agreement with the Marga but whose activities are opposed to it. D. Those not established in Yama should not get the opportunity to assume leadership. E. For the selfish and hypocrites, politics is the best instrument to achieve their selfish ends. Hence, when dealing in politics, proceed very cautiously and with sharp eyes all around. 27. Electorate. A. Do not be
Do you
misled by
want me
anyone's...
do you want me to help you read? Are you tired?
Well, you can. Thank you.
7. A. Do not be... Okay, we read it. No. 27. Electorate. Do not be mild by anybody's tall talk. Judge merit by seeing the performance. B. Remember, whatever position one is in offers sufficient opportunity to work. C. One whose character is not in accordance with the Yama Niyama should not get opportunity to become a representative. D. Only people established in Yama Niyama are worthy of your support. In case of more than one such person, vote for the best worker. Rather than support an unworthy person, it is better not to exercise one's franchise, because to invest an unworthy person with power means to push society towards destruction knowingly or deliberately. 28. The steps of Shasti, corrective punishment. A. First, attempt to bring the guilty person around through sweet words. B. Secondly, adopt a stiff attitude. C. Thirdly, tell him or her about the possible punishment for the offense. D. Fourthly, take the steps for punishment. 29. Degree of crime. A. Activities harmful to the Marga, hypocrisy, theft, and the persecution of women are the greatest crimes. Such criminals should be categorized as Mahapatakis, great sinners, and severe measures should be taken against them from the beginning. B. Weapons should not be used against those criminals who are not Mahapatakis and are weaponless. If a criminal is alone, more than one person must not attack him with weapons, and if he asks for forgiveness, whether you forgive him or not, do not hit him. Do not attack from behind. Do not take severe measures against old people and children. 30. Dharma, spirituality, is for all walks of individual and collective life. Those who think that Dharma is a personal system of worship, or that Dharma is completely a personal affair, are wrong, and their mistake hurts collective progress. 31. Okay, it's getting late, I agree. Why don't we leave at 31 and close the meeting? So what is left? Are we just need to finish this section, right? Yeah, let's finish it maybe then. On the video, let's finish. Is it okay with everyone besides Maxim? You guys okay?
Yeah, but I will need to leave. But thank you very much for sticking around and explaining things to me. But I really do need to get going. Thank you very much for everything, and probably see you next time.
Okay, very good. Have a good night. Good luck with studying. Yeah, see you. Okay, 31. Service and tolerance. Cooperate with all the field of social service. Be propagate Anandamarga ideology without casting aspersions of other out of intolerance. Without casting aspersion. What is aspersions? I would ask somebody to do the Googling here. I don't know what aspersions. Try your best to arrange alternative means of livelihood for religious professionals, irrespective of their connection with Anandamarga, if they face financial difficulties as a result of extensive propagation of Anandamarga ideology. No one in Anandamarga is anybody's servant. Use terms like agricultural assistant or family assistant. according to the nature of their work. Look after your assistants as your own children and pay attention towards their all-round development. Fix the time for their Ishvara Pranidhana and help them to acquire social status. Never be an impediment to their progress. Set an example of manliness by marrying a shelterless woman. Do not, under any circumstances, allow her to lead a disrespectable life. The meaning of Samgacchadvam mantra should be realized in life. Always remain united. Solve all problems, big or small, with unity. Consider misfortune of one as the misfortune of all, an injury to one as an injury to all. You may participate in all kinds of innocent ceremonies. As in principle, you do not support the philosophy of those who, in the name of worship of God, indulge in idolatry. Do not participate in their ceremonies. If dowry is demanded on behalf of either the bride or bridegroom at the wedding, you can help out manually as required. And if you feel like it, you can give a present, but you must not take food there. Prityana. If a person wants to feed you out of genuine intimacy, you should take the food happily, even if it is just grains and vegetables. But if someone invites you to make a show to people, never accept her food. Apadana. When life is jeopardized because of the lack of food and water, you need not consider whether the food is prohibited on any grounds or comes from an unworthy person. That's an important one. Shraddhana. Shraddhana, food offered at a memorial service, is neither Prityana nor Apadana, hence it is not to be taken. The habit of making wagers is extremely undesirable. You must avoid lotteries and gambling. Prerequisites for punishment or shasti. Before punishing a person, you should consider whether you love him or not. You do not have a moral right to punish one whom you do not love. Punishment should be meted out to reform and not to cause suffering. The quantum of punishment must not exceed the quantum of love. If some innocent person is pained by any of your actions, then, without considering whether he or she is your superior or inferior, you should sincerely seek his or her forgiveness. This will only enhance your prestige. You should try to get advice from everyone, but accept only the best. One whose advice you are unable to accept should not feel internally that he or she is trifling or insignificant to you, the society, or the organization. Do not judge anyone to be good or bad hastily, nor express your opinion. Even a small mistake in your decision or in your expression may result in collective harm to society. Remember, with every person you have a relationship of love and not fear. Those who love you will certainly give you recognition. Do not hurt an honest person even slightly. 1956, Jamalpur. This is pure gold right there, all these things. If anything, we can tattoo them on our skin. Okay, well, it's a figure of speech to those of you guys who are gonna watch it after this. Don't tattoo those things on you unless you really want to. Madhuvidyā, can you stop recording, please? Thank you so much. Thank you.